I have no problems. I just see that we're just getting onto our YouTube live. So let me just repeat that one more time. I want to remind everybody that this meeting, as per law, is being recorded. And I just wanted to again welcome all who are in attendance, our teachers, staff, administrators, parents, and community members, as well as the students for their amazing job that they're doing and their work to ensure that Monticello Central School District continues to educate our students. This is obviously a new world that we're living in, and we appreciate everyone's patience as we navigate these new waters. With that said, we again were unable to do a public feedback component during our open session. Anything that does come up in the meeting, if there's any questions, please do not hesitate to contact the district via email or by calling our clerk, Janet Montez, who's on tonight as well. And she will make sure that we get those answers up, as is our standard procedure. Any questions that are asked will be publicly available, as long as they are not with regard to a personal matter that we are not able to publish with regard to our future agendas. So with that said, we've officially come out of our executive session, and I'd ask everybody to please rise for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We are going to do this as much as normalcy as can be possible. With that said, I do have to ask for, sadly, a moment of silence. We lost somebody who's not currently a member of our faculty, but was a member of our faculty due to coronavirus. And we want to reach out to the family as well as her Chase School family with our condolences. Dorothy B.Z. Zarowski was a librarian for us in the Chase School. She worked for us for 2 years before she was called back to Goshen, which was closer to home for her during a time in which we lost teachers in that fashion because of layoffs. And she is going to be, she was missed when she left the district, but stayed in close contact. The bottom line is our philosophy is once a Panther, always a Panther. And I ask at this time for a moment of silence in reflection of the wonderful work she did for our students. Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on, I would normally say at this point to please silence your electronic devices, but that might be a little difficult in this particular situation. So I'm going to entertain a motion from one of my board members to move the agenda to the table. Please let me know. I see a hand up from Tim Crumley as a motion, seconded by Todd Groden. All in favor? Any opposed? So ordered. Addition, deletions, and corrections to the agenda. Dr. Silver.
I have none.
Thank you very much. I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, made by Ms. Galligan, seconded by, thank you, Mrs. Van Etten. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's a unanimous board, Janet. I think you can see that. Thank you very much. Moving on. Approval of minutes of March 19th, 2020. Motion made by Tim Crumley to approve those minutes, seconded by Stacy Sharoff. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? So ordered. We don't have our student board member here to give an update. There's not much that she can update us from, but I will share this. If you have not gone on to see the wonderful, wonderful work that was done by our high school students in thanking our teachers and our staff and saying that they miss them on Facebook, it is a must see, and make sure you have a box of Kleenex with you. At this particular time, I do need to, we're going to shift over for some phone call information. I'm going to make some phone calls because we have some people to honor, and we want them to be present with us in the room when I make this happen. So please bear with me as I add them to the calls. Mr. Russo, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Just hold on a moment. I'm going to connect 2 more people. Don't go away. Hello, Josh. Hi, don't go away, Josh. I got to connect 1 more person, okay?
What's up, Josh? What's up? It's Coach.
Hold on, you can still be heard. Okay, so I thought we would have Ryan Jasper here with us as well, but we currently have on the phone Coach Russo, along with we have Josh, who is here as well. So at this particular juncture, you know, with everything that's going on, we just want to remind people that there are still some wonderful things that are going on in our world today, and that our students and our Panthers do some really great work. So basically what happened was there was recognitions that are based from coaches and our sections that are part of this, and Sullivan County Democrat recognized as well a student of ours as a valuable player of the year and an all-star. So Josh, first we'll start with you. We want to congratulate you. We're sorry that we can't do it officially at a board meeting, but we didn't want to wait because we don't know when we'll be back together again. And we wanted to let you know how proud we are of you. And we are strongly Monty proud. And if you can see the screen, you can see people that are giving you hands up and everything on it. And we're very, 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 very proud of your work and your efforts. Would you like to say anything to the board? And you've got to speak up because you are on a cell phone. He said, thank you guys very much. And thank you for supporting him. And it means a lot. Josh, we're proud of you and we will celebrate you. We make that commitment and that promise to you. So congratulations. And before we go, I also need to congratulate, first we'll start with Ryan Jasper. We're sorry that he's not on the phone with us, although we did try to call him. He was voted as the varsity female basketball coach of the year. And we're very, very proud to have him on our faculty and working with our students and doing such an exceptional job. We thank you, Ryan. Hopefully you're able to hear this via the YouTube Live. And lastly, Coach Russo, you know, I remember when you first started coaching after Coach O'Neill, and you have built one heck of a team, not only a team that is a phenomenal team athletically, but a team that gives back to the community. And you have been honored as the varsity basketball coach of the year as well. And that speaks well of our program. Would you like to say anything to the board? And again, I ask you to speak up so they can hear you.
Sure. I just would say thank you very much for recognizing both me and Josh. I'm extremely fortunate, extremely fortunate to serve our community as our basketball coach and be at Monticello. It's really been a true home for me. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And, lucky for me, I've got some pretty talented kids who give me their best every day, kids like Josh and others. And so I'm just very fortunate, very happy.
Thank you so much. We're very proud of you. Please keep up the good work. Please, please, please. Our love and safe wishes. You're getting a round of applause from everybody who's here. So just so you know. So we're very proud of you and congratulations. It's a well-deserved honor all across the board for all three. And we are so glad that you are part of our Monticello family. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. So they'll hang up from the conference call. Mrs. Doherty, you're still here? Yes? Okay, just double checking and making sure I didn't lose you in the process of it. Okay, so Courtney Bonfante is asking everybody to give a thumbs up again because they want to do a screenshot. So if everybody could please get on and give a thumbs up. Hopefully you got that, Courtney. We're moving on with what's going on. Okay, so moving on the agenda, I need to have a motion to recess for the budget presentation made by Mrs. Sharoff, seconded by Ms. Holmes. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? So ordered. Mrs. Fowler, you're on. Hold on, you somehow got muted. There you go. Mrs. Fowler?
Sandy's supposed to put up the slideshow because
Okay.
we're not the host.
Just 1 second, please.
Thank you.
Want me to start?
Oh, that's up to you. Yeah, if you want. I have the other one with the general and, the.
Yeah, so I'll do the start and then
Okay.
just the overview and then.
We can see it.
Okay, so let me just start with a little bit of context for the budget as a whole, and then we'll talk specifically about staffing and budget and revenue. So state aid runs came out yesterday. We know the legislature approved the state budget. On paper, it looks very nice, but there's some significant issues that the board needs to be aware of as we move forward with planning. The federal, as part of the $2.2 trillion federal bill, there's a chunk of money that goes to the states that's supposed to get funneled to the schools. We're getting $1.6 million of that, but the state, who is in grave revenue difficulty, they're somewhere between $10 and $15 billion short in revenue right now. They use the federal money to supplant state aid. So we have $1.6 million less in state aid, $1.6 million more in federal aid. So it looks like we're being held harmless from all of this, but we don't really believe that's going to be the case. As part of the budget bill, there are 4 look-back periods, check-back periods, where the Office of Budget is supposed to look to see whether revenues are meeting their targets or whether expenditures are exceeding their targets. And if they are, he has to come up with a plan of reductions. The 4 look-back, check-back periods are April 30th, June 30th, December 31st, and March of next year. So the Office of Budget comes up with a plan if there's a need for one. The legislature has 10 days to come up with their own plan if they don't like what he's proposing. My best guess is that the path of least resistance is for the legislature to give in to whatever the executive wants. And so that there's going to be reductions in the real reductions in state aid, like similar to what there was in 2008 or all the way back to 1992. So as we're building the budget, we just have to be cautious in what our revenue projections are going to be at this point. The advice we're getting is that the board should not adopt a budget until after the April 30th check back period, because that'll be the first sense we have of whether we're going to get reductions in our state aid revenue. So that's sort of the context that we're starting this whole conversation with. So Sandy, next slide, please. This slide says personnel reductions. What the next slide says is personnel adds. It's a net zero to the budget with what we're proposing. The personnel reductions, the board knows all about, are the assistant superintendent for administration, the supervisor of special programs position, and high school English positions due to retirements. There are also 3 OC's personnel staff that we have 6.6 FTEs, a lab technician, a psychologist, and a speech pathologist from BOCES. All of those positions are currently vacant. And so BOCES can't provide us with the service we need. And what we think we can do is hire a full-time Monticello employee at roughly the same cost as the 0.6 costs us from BOCES. So these are all positions that are reduced. If you look at the next slide, these are the positions we're requesting. 3 elementary special ed teachers, and that's due to the reconfiguration of Cook and KLR to help support the inclusion classes. 2 teaching assistants at KLR, and that's for AIS support. For the AIS, the remedial reading teachers. We're asking for 2 floating sub-teaching assistants to serve as substitutes, because we all know what difficulty we've had getting subs over this past year. And so we think that having a couple of people available to plug in will give us a little bit better coverage come next year. The middle school and the high school is asking for a temporary safety attendant. Assuming the capital project moves forward, and we'll talk more about that later. The 9th grade is going to be placed in part of the ground floor of the middle school, and we think we really want to have a safety attendant down in that section of the building all the time to keep the middle school kids and the high school kids separate. We need an LPN for a student IEP, so this would be a one-to-one nurse based on the student's needs. We're proposing again to increase the number of high school assistant principals to 3. And then the next 3 positions are the BOCES replacement positions: a full-time tech integration specialist, a full-time psychologist, and a full-time speech language pathologist. The other thing, the next slide, Sandy. During the year, the board added 4 other positions that are already built into the budget: an assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, 2 directors of curriculum, the board appointed at the last meeting, and a technical data specialist, which is a new central office position, support position. All the retirees from this year, all those positions we believe need to be replaced except for the 2 high school English positions, and all the current positions all the current positions filled or vacant are included in the budget. So all those dollars have been accounted for already to this point. So if you turn one more to the next slide, you can see at the top the reductions equal about $570,000, and the new personnel requests total about $571,000. So the net is we're saving $85.
Okay,
If there are questions about personnel, we can do that now. Lisa's going to move on to the revenue side. So it's really up to you how you want to proceed.
okay, so this is technically, we're still in the budget presentation for the public, so we're going to move on, and the board will hold their questions until everything is done and we go into session.
Sandy, the next slide, please.
Okay, so this is kind of hard to see the top line. I didn't realize that was in white. But the draft budget proposal with all of those personnel changes that have been described is $91,276,204. Our goal is to keep the budget at a 0% budget increase, which would be $91,227, $91,221. So you see the number. So we still need to reduce it by about $49,000 to reach that goal. Our current revenue budget projection is higher at $91,463,712, but that was based on the governor's initial budget and well before all of the talk about potential cuts mid-year. So that we have a little bit of an excess there of $187,000. Next slide, please. So this slide I'm showing you the 1920 revenue budget. The current proposal, the total's $91,463,712. As you can see, that includes the transfer from the debt service fund. That money has been there for many, many, many years, and it was recommended that the board use that to offset the budget. So we're proposing to do that. All of our debt service, except for the EPC, which did not create this, has been paid down through 1920. So it's an appropriate time to give it back to the taxpayers. And we're proposing a reduction of the appropriated fund balance to 2.2 million. If we can cut and go down to the 91,227,000, my recommendation would be to reduce the appropriated fund balance. In case we have state aid cuts and we need to dip into that a little bit more, the board can always appropriate fund balance during the school year. Next slide. Okay, so that didn't work. I swear when I gave this to them that was all broken out, so that's really odd. We will make sure that the correct slide is there. It's a graph that shows how it's all broken down. Roughly 68% of our budget is salary and benefits. About 8% is the stuff that we can control. But I'll make sure that was very strange.
The joy of technology, we thank you anyway.
So this is just kind of a summary of the budget proposal and why I think we can get to a no expenditure increase budget, salaries and benefits, and it just has all the totals, and it shows you that we really only need to trim about $49,000 in order to have an absolutely 0% increase to our appropriations budget. Of course, if we wanted to adopt the 91,276,000, it's only 0.5% increase in expenditures. Next slide. Okay, so this one is cutting off 2, so that's weird. So every year I do a fund balance projection, and obviously you can't see the percentages on the bottom. Do you have the percentages across?
It is on the document that's on the website. It should be, so on the public information. So it is there.
So with this budget, I'm projecting that we will be around 5.6% unappropriated fund balance, which is getting us closer to the 4%. That is what we're allowed to have legally. The 2021 budget is projected to dip into fund balance a little bit, but would generate about a 6.5% unappropriated fund balance. And then again, that's based on us getting all of the state aid that we've been promised. So that number, I'm happy with it being 6.5 if we get everything, just because if we don't, we know we have some room there and we're not going to be in any kind of financial trouble going forward. Projecting out to 2022, we're getting closer to the 4%, 3.35. Of course, that's based on, my estimates of the salary increases and what we can increase in property taxes and whatnot. So you get out much past 2 or 3 years out, and it's just really a good guess. Most of our contracts expire, so it's kind of a guess. All of that will change, but that's the fund balance projection through 2023. Next slide. Why is it doing that?
I don't know.
Oh, and that's it.
Okay, so at this time, if there's anybody from the community, again, who has any questions with regard to the presentation they just saw, we ask that you direct those to our board clerk at jmontez@k12mcsd.net, and she will make sure that those answers are available to the public on our next set of minutes. So we thank you very much, Janet, in case you get inundated with questions regarding it. At this time, I will entertain a motion. Give me a second. I got to get one of my computers back to the other spot.
Oh, it's only this.
I will entertain a motion to reconvene our meeting. We can take the information. Perfect. Any questions from the board? Please raise your hand and I can unmute you. Mrs. Sharoff, let me unmute you. Go ahead.
Okay, back on the slide for the positions created, there were 3 that were formerly BOCES and we're going to hire directly. Can you just remind me why we're taking on those? It was a psychologist, a technician, and one more.
Speech
My
language.
Speech language pathologist is the third. Those are services we need to provide. Well, 2 of them, psychologists and the speech language pathologist.
I get that we need them. I'm just wondering how come they used to be BOCES and now they're ours.
Oh, because BOCES isn't providing the service to us.
Well, that'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with questions? I'm looking across the screen. I don't see anything else. So moving on from Mr. Groden, are you trying to? Okay, thank you. So moving on from there, could we please, Mrs. Sheriff, do you have anything you want to say?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I would like to move that we approve consent agenda items F1 to K1.
Do I have a second to that motion? Mr. Groden, any discussion? All in favor? Please let the record show that it is a unanimous board. Just double checking. I see that I do not have a visual on Jen. So I lost Jen. Kathleen, can you just verbally vote so we've got it on record? Okay, so Kathleen has said yes as well. Okay,
Yes.
so I've got Jen back. Thank you. I see you again. Thank you. Moving on from there, we're going to do our superintendent's updates. So Dr. Silver, you're on.
Did you skip some stuff?
Board roundtable,
You
yes.
skipped the board roundtable and
Oops, sorry, I did skip. Sorry, I'm working off of three units here.
it's okay.
I need to do that. So board roundtable. So any board members have anything they'd like to share? So I see Mr. Groden. Can you please? We're trying to unmute you. There you go.
I wanted to say congratulations to Coach Russo for his accomplishment. Josh Gatling, amazing. As the board members, a lot of us were there to see his performance. And finally, it is great pleasure to know that Coach Jasper has ascended to Coach of the Year as well. I think our programs speak for themselves. The dedication that these men and women put together is just amazing, and I want to applaud them.
Thank you. Anybody else want to share? Mrs. Sheriff, I am unmuting you. I see you. Mrs.
Just
Sheriff.
a really quick thank you, I'm sure on behalf of everyone, to all of the staff of our schools, from the teachers on down to the drivers who just pulled into a different gear and have made it happen. We as a community are incredibly grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, yes, Kathleen, hold on. Kathleen by phone, go ahead.
Yeah, I just also want to echo the sentiments that Stacy had said, that I'm really proud of everything that central administration, administrators, everybody has done. This has been a really unprecedented event and we held it together. Thank you.
Thank you. You're getting thumbs up on the other side. So as we open the meeting, we definitely shared our thoughts and are just so grateful all the way around. I do have a few things that I did attend. I spent a lot of time on virtual. So I did attend recently the hub administrative meeting. They are doing yeoman's work and actually making sure that any students who might be falling through the cracks, they're working with Dawn from our food services, and they're getting some of the extra foods and making sure that they're getting out to students. I found out at tonight's meeting, which I know that Mr. Crumley was on, I know that Ms. Galligan was on, and I know that, who else was on that meeting? Did I miss anybody? Was Stacy Sheriff was on that meeting. Thank you, Ms. Sheriff, and Ms. Jersey, that we were at the BOCES annual meeting. And one of the things we did find out is that there's 42,000+ meals that have been served to children throughout Sullivan County by the school districts in our county. This is, you know, an impact that is massive. And what we do know is that we're going to make sure that we help our students as much as possible, and we can't do it without the help of the wonderful staff members, faculty, staff, and administration alike. New York State School Boards Association this past Saturday held a webinar, and they'll be doing it again, that was updating us with regard to where we stand, what our budget concerns are, what things were looking like, what the governor's messages were. So we're very glad to see that that they are working for us. We pay them our dues, and they are definitely pulling through for us. And we're getting, not, I would say daily updates, but reality is I get like 10 emails a day from them, just saying what's going on as we progress these new waters. So I thank everybody for that. Moving on, Dr. Silver.
Lori, can I just piggyback on one of your comments?
Sure.
You talked about the 42,000 meals in Liberty, Fallsburg, Monticello, and BOCES students. As in Monticello, through yesterday, we served 18,874 of those meals. That's
amazing. That's amazing. And those are the ones that we know, if I am correct, Dr. Silver, those are the ones that we know that we actually, our drivers and our aides and people who are taking them on those bus routes are getting the food to those students. But I know that, again, Marty Calavito is working hard from the hub end and taking some foods and making sure that students who are not getting to the door and not doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're still getting meals as well beyond.
Oh, that's great.
I'm sorry?
That's great.
Yep. So thank you so much. We appreciate everybody's effort. And they're putting themselves in harm's way to do it, and we are very appreciative of that. And the work that they do for our kids. Dr. Silver, did we have anything that we need to deal with regard to an immediacy, with regard to policy coming from school boards, or are we good? I didn't
We're
know.
good.
Okay, I didn't know if anything came late and breaking. Capital project update.
So the big news is the project was approved by State Ed to move forward. Bid documents went out March 25th with a planned bid opening of April 22nd. Best guess is that'll get pushed back a week, because it's always pushed back a week, because there are questions that get raised and there are addenda that have to be produced. Our attorneys have suggested that one of the executive orders, or part of the executive orders, was halting all non-essential construction. It's not clear at this point whether school construction is considered essential or non-essential. Part of the problem with that is municipal and school projects are generally exempt from those kinds of rules, but it's not clear from the executive's order whether school projects are, in fact, because they specified what kind of projects could move forward. So our attorneys suggested that in the first bid addendum would be put language in that releases us for any bid results when the bids come in. So there are 3 walkthroughs scheduled through the buildings coming up, and then we'll see what happens with the bids.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions around that from the board? Okay, then moving on from there, upcoming events. Well, upcoming events are pretty much on hold for a while, and community events. So we will keep people posted and what our game plan will be. Moving forward to superintendent updates.
Well, let me start with one event that is moving forward, and that's the Panther Parade tomorrow morning, starting at 10:30 in Wordsboro. So you should have gotten either a robocall or it's on the website, but we anticipate a lot of teachers in their cars wandering through the district just to wave at the kids and say hi.
Which is a wonderful, wonderful thing for us to do. And anybody board-wise want to say anything to that, speak to that? Okay, hold on. Mr. Groden?
I want to say thank you to all the teachers for working with all these school days, push back. I just noticed how much harder all the teachers have been working. My heart goes out to you, because I have been on Twitter and Instagram and in my own faculty meetings, and I've never heard so many people on PD talk about how they've been brought to tears. So for all of you that are doing that and holding it down, and now tomorrow in the parade, going to drive to offer that connection to your students, it's invaluable, and thank you.
I just want to take an opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Groden. I just want to take an opportunity to piggyback on that and saying that it's not just the teachers that have been invited to do this, it is staff, faculty, administrators, and we ask you to be very safe, because we don't want to see a car accident, God forbid, in the process of this, because our EMS services are certainly stretched to their limits right now. So just be very careful on the parade, but we thank you so much for going out and doing this. We ask that parents and students who might be watching, we love that you'll be out there, but please remember social distancing in the process to keep yourself safe as well. Thank you. Dr. Silver, oh, wait, I see a hand up. Mrs. Van Etten. Go ahead, you're on.
Has the route been publicized, or is the route available on the website?
I believe it's on the website.
It's on the website, yeah.
Thank you.
And also you can find it on the Facebook page, the Monticello Central School District Facebook page.
Thank you.
Yep. So thank you, Dr. Silver. Continuing on.
Budget vote. One part of the executive order was pushing back the budget and board election vote to at least June 1st. There are 2 things we don't know. When they'll actually set the budget vote in June. Everyone's kind of hoping for June 2nd, because if it's much later than that, we'd run into all kinds of problems if someone's budget went down and there wouldn't be enough time to do a second budget vote. So it'd be automatically going to contingency unless there's a whole lot of rule changes that come into play. What everyone is assuming that the votes have moved at least 2 weeks forward. All the other deadlines have moved 2 weeks forward. So for petitions, for the board approval of the budget, but there's been no real clarification of that yet. So it's all a little fuzzy. So we'll keep you posted on how all of that works. Also part of the executive order was schools are closed through April 14th, Tuesday. I don't think anyone would give a nickel to believe we'll be back in school on April 15th. Linda will talk about this later, but we have our phase 2 learning plan that we'll put in place starting next week. Of course, we all know that the executive order eliminated spring break, much to everybody's surprise. So as things move forward, if we come back into school, we'll have to deal with the CBA and the school year of 182 days, because we'll essentially owe 5 school vacation days and 2 snow days to staff and teachers. But that's down the road a little piece, so I'm not too worried about that. But it'll be something we have to deal with. I talked about state aid already. I want you to know that FEMA opened up its doors for applications, and so Lisa started the initial application to FEMA to reimburse us for food costs and any other costs we might assume because of the pandemic. And I think that may be about it. Yeah, I think that's all I have, unless you guys have questions.
Any questions from anybody? Okay, I see none. Moving on then. Any questions around the enrollment? Okay, so the enrollment document, I see no questions regarding that. Moving on, I see Mrs. Sharoff. Do you have anything that you would like to say? Hold on one moment so I can unmute you. So go ahead. Mrs. Sharoff?
Yes, I would like to move that we take action items T1 to U3 as a group.
Do I have a second to that? Mrs. Van Etten, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Kathleen, can I have a verbal from you, please? I think I lost Kathleen. She had to unmute herself. Okay, so she's good with that for the record, Janet, just so that we've got it for the record. So it's a unanimous board on that. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sharoff.
I move that we approve action items T1 to U3.
Do I have a second on that? Made by Ms. Holmes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Kathleen says aye, across the board. Thank you very much. Unanimous. For the record, to show that it is a unanimous vote. Thank you very, very much. Moving forward with that, we have some information in correspondence. I've gotten so spoiled using my other documents. So the information in correspondence, of course, there's tons of stuff, and I know that Mrs. Montez is going to have a stack of stuff for me in a folder of cutouts of these, but she uploads everything. If you want to see some wonderful stories, we have stories there on the comfort closet and you know, the honors that we gave this morning, et cetera, and everything that's going on there. So if you are watching from afar, you can see some of the wonderful press coverage we're getting. We appreciate the press doing all of the coverage that it's doing, not only now, but during our school year. The press has been amazing. And again, we'd like to thank our PR person, who is Courtney Bonfante, who is listening in and doing her thing from that and making sure that things are getting done and out. So we appreciate everybody doing that. And based upon that, I will entertain at this time a motion to adjourn. Wait, Dr. Silver.
2 things. One is it's not on your correspondence pile, and I forgot to mention it, but Patterns for Progress, the organization in Middletown, in their March 27 Positive Patterns issue, we were on the front cover for meal delivery. And so you can't see this, but I'll make sure board gets a copy of it. And I want to acknowledge that. And the second thing is, would board entertain having Linda take a couple of minutes just to talk about what plans are moving forward for educating
Absolutely.
kids?
I did not see her at that. So Linda, I'll open it up to you so that you can share with us and the community I'm trying to unmute you. Give me a second. There you go.
Okay, I think I'm there. Thank you. So we've been working really hard on what we're calling our phase 2 plan. So moving from the first 3 weeks where we had enrichment and review learning for students, we're moving into kind of a whole new world now. Some of the things that we've had to balance are the idea that not all of our kids have access to Wi-Fi, and not all of our kids have devices. And so one thing that has been happening is that Sandy Wagner, the director of technology, and his team have been working really hard to develop a device deployment plan so that we can start sending out devices for students who do not have them beginning next week. We had done a survey with calling every single one of our families to determine what they had access to and what they needed. So we're starting with the easy, which is getting devices to families before we move on from that. And those are happening in each of the school buildings. And he's been working very closely with the principals to set that up. The second thing that we've been working on is developing the instructional plan as we move forward. So what does it look like to deliver instruction in a remote environment, both virtually and also in paper-based instruction, since we have to provide both. We can all agree that neither one of those is equivalent to face-to-face instruction with the teacher in the room with students. And so looking at that, we've had to get guidelines together in management of expectations of what that kind of learning can look like, how we provide feedback to students in all situations, and then what do we do about assessing students and looking at, there's no good decisions that we can make in this environment, and it's really looking at what are the decisions that we can make that do the least amount of damage when it comes to assessment and how we help move students forward. So big questions around learning. We've been working with Sullivan County BOCES and with other districts around the county in identifying essential learning when we look at the standards. And so we know that when you plan for digital learning, you take what you think you're going to cover and you cut that in half, and then you cut that in half again. And that's about what you can potentially get to with learning and teaching in an online environment. And so, it's a process for all of us. The teachers have been incredible, working really, really hard to get themselves up to speed on what this means. Our 3 tech integrators that work for Monticello have been working almost around the clock and providing support for teachers as they get used to all the new tools. We're asking all teachers to use a learning management system to help to organize their learning for their students. We have 3 available, one specifically designed for K2 students, and then choices. And like I said, the tech integrators have been doing a tremendous amount of work in supporting teachers as they get up and running with that. As we told the state in our continuity of learning plan, right, we are going to be continuous in the learning that we provide for students. And so just kind of moving ahead with what that looks like, trying to personalize it and be cognizant of safety and equity as we move forward.
Thank you. Mrs. Sheriff has a question. I'm going to unmute her. I'm going to try to unmute her.
There we go.
Okay, Mrs. Sheriff.
I am so impressed with the plans that are in place. How can we possibly deliver new instruction to those children who just don't have access to internet?
Sure, that's a great question. It's one that we continuously grapple with. One of the things that we're looking at, right? So like, the challenge in the instructional cycle is the feedback, right? So one thing that the building principals and I were talking about last night was mechanisms for collecting the work in safe manners and then providing a way for teachers to collect it and then to give feedback to students on the telephone. And so we're looking at what is it, when we create something digitally, how do we create something that is equivalent in paper so that we can mail that home or have parents pick it up in the way they did with the first set of learning materials that we provided.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Oler Marks. We really appreciate the fact that you are at the helm, helping us get through this. And we thank you. We thank all the teachers. We thank the aides that are helping. It just, we can't say it enough. You know, the kids are our future. And if there's anything through this that we need to do, we need to make sure that we ensure our future and that they have what they need to the best of our abilities. No online system could ever provide what a teacher in front of the classroom or them saying good morning to their bus driver or the custodian who passes them in the halls and says hello, or the cafeteria worker who makes sure that they have meals in their mouths when they're at the school, but give them that friendly smile while they're serving it up. The bottom line is we are indebted. We are indebted to so many through this situation, and we are indebted to our educators. You truly are heroes. You know, as a retiree after 35 years in the business, I can tell you that if I was in the middle of doing this, I would do it. I would do it with you and proudly do it by your side. But what you're doing just makes me cry on a daily basis, and we thank you. And I think that you're getting applause from across the board. So if you're unable to see and you're in just in another way. So we thank you for all of your efforts. And to our central office administration, you've been amazing and we appreciate all of your efforts. We are glad to have you at the helm. We are proud to have you as our leadership, and we are grateful that you have chosen to serve Monticello Central School District in the manner that you have. And with that said, if there's nothing else from the rest of the board, is there anything else? We're good. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn made by Mr. Groden, seconded by Mrs. Sharoff. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Wagner, for being with us tonight and helping us out. And for everybody who is listening, we give you the well wishes for good health. Stay safe. And we hope to be together again soon. Be well. Good night.
And then
Well.